So what if the worst happens to one of these countries dealing with a debt crisis? We're joined now by our ever-questioning columnist, Matthew Lynn, who's going a little Ghostbusters on us today. Matthew, why are you going a bit Ghostbusters on us?
That was my intro. Who are they going to call if there's a problem? If there's a problem in Greece, there's a problem in Portugal or Spain, one of the other eurozone countries. And there is this, interesting debate going on in Brussels, at the ECB in Frankfurt about, if these countries literally get into, severe financing crisis where they literally can't sell the bonds to meet their payrolls, who are they going to call? Is it going to be a European bailout, or are they going to call the IMF? And I'm arguing in the column today that they ought to be calling on the IMF. That although it's very unpopular amongst the kind of upper echelons of European politics, the IMF are the right people for the job.
Why?
Well, I think there are two big reasons. One, they've got the experience. They've done this before. I know the IMF. But a lot of people.
I'm going to say they've done it before and got it wrong.
Yeah, true. They have.
Look at Malaysia, late 90s.
Yeah, true. Absolutely. I mean, that is an absolutely valid point. But at least they've got the experience. They've been through this route. And what we're talking about now is we're talking about creating a completely new institution, the European Monetary Fund. They've never done this before. If you had a heart attack, okay, you might get a doctor who hadn't got a 100% success rate of curing people with heart attacks. But it's better than some guy who turns up with a textbook saying, "Hello." What do we do now? They have got experience, and that counts for something. But that's not the only reason. I think the second reason is it's going to be very, very unpopular.
Right,
there's going to be a bad cop.
Playing devil's advocate with you, right? Okay. Every time the IMF turns up, it's more or less the same prescription. Okay, it's budget cuts, cut your deficit, cut public spending, make people in the public sector, shrink the public sector.
That's because that's the answer. When you've got a budget crisis, you've got to cut spending.
So the IMF would have the same thing.
Well, true, but they've also got experience of financing. But somebody's got to be the bad cop. I think this is the second important point. Somebody's got to come into countries where they need huge cuts in government spending, and they've got to play the bad cop. They've got to take all the flak. It's not good for the European project, and it's not good for the euro for that to be a European institution. It's actually much better to get the IMF coming in, a bunch of rather sinister-looking bankers in shades, and you can say, they're Americans, they're Asians, they represent the world financial system. It's all their fault. Because you don't actually especially want it blamed on the ECB in Frankfurt, because the euro still needs public support in these countries. You don't necessarily want it blamed on the EU, or you don't particularly want it blamed on the Germans, because that's not healthy for solidarity in Europe. So actually, although everyone's kind of talking about maintaining solidarity,
what you're saying is taxpayers in Germany don't necessarily want to feel as though they are bailing out the likes of Greece or Portugal.
Well, that I think is the third important point is we have this no bailout rule within the euro, and that was put in there for a good reason. It was written into all the treaties. And if you have an IMF bailout, that's not the eurozone bailing out Greece or Portugal or Spain. That's the whole world bailing out.
Do you really think this IMF plan has any legs, though?
I don't. I can't see it flying. I mean, I don't think they can't get it up and running in time. As Angela Merkel says, they've got to have a whole new treaty. As we know, it takes them. Look how long it took them to do the Lisbon Treaty, about 10 years to get ratified. It takes a long, long time to set up a new body.
Also, do we have this tendency to set up the wrong institution for the next crisis because it's looking back at the old crisis and not ready for a completely different type of crisis?
Yeah. Well, we always do. We always do that. But generals are always fighting the last war, and financial regulators are always battling the last crisis. Yeah, they'll set up an IMF, they'll build a very, very fancy building somewhere. They'll have a long argument about where to put the building. Even that'll take 5 years.
As long as they get the right marble in there, and that's absolutely key, isn't it?
That is the big thing.
Matthew Lynn, thank you very much indeed. Right.